Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is Tony Holowitz and thank you for being here for this tutorial. It is quite common when I start working with a client to find they have not used the ID status to keep their contacts in Act simplified. And going back to the simple approach of thinking of the majority of your contacts being either clients or prospects, if you have to all of a sudden go all through your data and get it organized, it can be very daunting. Now, this is what I'd like to suggest to you. I'm going to show you a simple way to do this, and I'm going to say to you, don't get overwhelmed by it. Make it part of your day. Make it part of a process that you're going through, and recognize that there's a pretty good chance during this process you're going to get some sales out of it. So drawing your attention to the fact that you're disorganized in this respect isn't a bad thing. Use it as a motivator to move forward and make it a process that whether you get it done in a day, a week, or a year, it doesn't matter. Every time you get a contact a little more organized and take some action, the closer you are to your next sale. So don't be overwhelmed by it. So let me give you some ideas on how you can do that. And I'm going to bring into this the idea of using what are called groups. Groups in Act, to me, are phenomenal, and I use them all the time, and it's one of the most important things I teach my clients and my students. So let me talk about groups a little bit in this scenario. So right here, I use the ID status for Tony for anything that's personal. It could be my doctor, lawyer, friends, family, neighbors, anything that I think is a personal level. I use the ID status of Tony. I just took that out of there for a moment. Let's say that we've got tons of contacts in our database where we have no ID status. We have no idea who they are. And our job is to go through and find all the people with a blank ID status and fill them in. Now, that could be daunting. But I'm going to come up and I'm going to first go lookup. I'm going to go ID status. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to say, listen, I don't want to find something specific. I want to find something that doesn't exist. In other words, I want to find all the contacts in Act where the ID status is blank or does not contain data. And I'm going to click OK. Now, when I do that in this particular database, I have 190 contacts that fit that lookup. So I only have 190. That's not a big deal, but you might have thousands. And all of a sudden you're dealing with, wait, how do I get on top of all of this? It's really overwhelming. And frankly, some of the work isn't the most exciting work to do. So what I try to get people to think about is this. Take all these people and put them in a group. Now, the way you can put people in a group is there's two ways to do it. You can automate the task so it's automatic, or you can manually put them in a group. So I just did a lookup of 190 people, and I'm going to add these people to a group. And I'm going to show you both ways to do it, but I want you to remember that number, 190. I'm going to go down below contacts where it says groups, and I'm going to click on groups. Right now, I have no groups over here. I'm going to come up top, and I'm going to go groups, new group. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a name. And by default, when I name things, I always give it a number. And I'm going to give this the number 00 dash blank ID status. And the reason I like to use numbers is because using numbers puts these in an order, and by putting them in an order, I find it easier to work with. If not, it would be in alphabetical order. So I'm calling this one 00. The next one will be 01, 02, moving forward. But I'm going to call this blank ID status. So now how do we get those contacts that I just looked up into this group? Well, I'm going to come down to where it says add remove contacts. When I do that, I can add contacts manually by clicking here. And keep in mind, I just did a lookup of all the people with a blank ID status. I don't want to add all my contacts in the database, but I'm going to click on the drop down and choose current lookup. Now, these are all the people in that current lookup. If I want to add them all to the group, I could click on the double arrows and add them, but I don't want to do that. The way I want to do it is as follows. I'm going to click cancel. When I get back to this box, I'm going to come over here to click on Edit Criteria. And basically what I'm doing is I'm going to dynamically, or what I like to refer to it as is group membership rules, where I'm going to click on Edit Criteria and I'm going to say, listen, if a contact in Act's ID status is blank, in other words, it does not contain data, I want you to add these people to this group automatically. So I did the criteria up top, I clicked on Add to List, and now if I click on Preview, there's the 190 people that are part of that group. Now, the great thing about working with groups in a situation like this is the minute I give any of these contacts an ID status, they are automatically taken out of the group. So if you have a huge number of contacts to work with, say you're trying to fill in the ID status, and let's say just for the sake of our discussion, you need to go through them one at a time. This is a phenomenal way to do it. This is sort of the rainy day work that you do. In other words, I like to use groups for those things when I'm a little bit bored or I just need a mental break, but I want to be productive. I'll go in and go through things like this to find all the people that are in that group. So let me do this. I'm going to right click and go create lookup. Now I could have right clicked on any of these contacts and done the same thing, but I'm right clicking on the group and going create lookup, and it's going to take me inside. I want you to look at that number 190. I'm just going to double click on any one of these, and I'm just up here in the ID status going to put in the letter P for prospect. I'm going to go forward to the next one. I'm going to type in P for prospect. I'm going to go to the next one. Now remember, we had 190 people in here. See how easy this is because it's one touch? Maybe this is a client. I just hit the letter C for, actually I'd taken client out, but let's call this one a new lead, for example. Let's go forward, and I'm just adding some things. So we've gone through maybe 6 or 7 and added them. So we had 190, but now I'm going to go back down to my groups. I'm going to come here, click on the ID status, and the way you see the number of people in this group now is if you look down towards the bottom. And let me make sure I'm on the right one. I got to refresh this. Now, if you look down towards the bottom, there's 185 people in this group. In other words, the 5 people I gave an ID status to, they are now out of that group. So as I work through these one by one, slowly but surely, all these people will get done and will be taken out of my group. That's one of the things I love about groups. It's not a big task to just go here periodically and work on them, whether I work on 5 or whether I work on 50. It doesn't matter. Slowly but surely, you're going to work through all of these. And that's one of the reasons I am such a big fan of working with groups. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tony Holowitz. Thank you so very much. Have a great day.